Every farmer knows if you sow a little seed, you get a little crop. The greater the amount in crop, it starts with seed form. So if you sow a lot, you reap a lot. If you sow little, you'll reap little. Now, of course, this is not a blanket promise where we are now obligating God and all this crazy word faith stuff that people get sidetracked by. But what this is saying is God will bless generous people. We all know people that are, how shall we describe them? Cheapskates. You know, they hold on to everything. They're the people that when you go into a restaurant and you have a meal with them and the check comes, either mysteriously disappear or are always somehow distracted. You know, the check comes and there it is, and you look over and they're like looking over the other way, like, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. And so you don't want to say, the check is here, you're going to help out or what, you know? Or maybe they give their portion, but they never factor in a tip or anything else, and they don't give enough, and so well, I'll take care of it, you know. But you start noticing this happens once, twice, 3, 4, 100 times. Kind of a person, if you say, can I borrow a quarter, they'll give it to you and actually come back to you a week later saying, I'm going to get that quarter back anytime soon. By the way, with interest, that would be about 30 cents now. Now, when you know someone like that, do you want to give money to them? No, not usually. And so God will bless generous people. God says, as you give, I will give to you. You might say, well, Greg, I can't afford to give. Well, you know what? I can't afford not to give. David said he would not give to the Lord that which cost him nothing. Some might say, well, if I had $1 million, I would give more to the Lord. But that's not necessarily true, because the person who has $1 million says, well, if I had 5 million, and the person with 5 million, well, if I had 10 million, it's all fine when it's in theory. I say start with where you're at and learn to be a faithful giver and watch what the Lord will do for you. God actually says, test me on this in Malachi. Prove me on this, says the Lord, as you faithfully bring your tithes and offerings to me. See if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive it. Heard about a preacher who asked a farmer in his congregation, farmer, if you had $200, would you give 100 of it to the Lord? The farmer said, I would. Preacher said, if he had 2 cows, would you give one of them to the Lord? The farmer again said, yes, I would. The preacher said, let me ask you this. If you had 2 pigs, would you give one of them to the Lord? The farmer said, no, that's not fair, because you know I have 2 pigs. See, it's fine when it's theoretical. But when it gets real, it's a different thing. Why should I do this? Because guess what? You're going to leave it all behind. It's not that earthly treasures are bad. It's not that you should feel bad if the Lord has blessed you. You just need to be realistic and know that you're going to leave it all behind you on this earth, because these things will not last.